In this video, we draw the line between passive thinking and planning, that spirituality, when left unchecked, doesn't sometimes become a prison of inaction. We explore why over-introspection can make you weak, why waiting for purpose keeps you lost, and why chasing perfection ensures you never begin. But this isn't about abandoning wisdom. It's about fusing it with movement. So, the question is simple. Will you keep watching, or will you step forward and take control? Chapter 1. Are you thinking too much and doing too little? Tell me, how often do you sit with a thought, turning it over, analyzing it, searching for a deeper meaning, only to realize hours, days, or even years have passed and nothing has changed? Thinking gives the illusion of progress, but without action, it is just an echo in an empty room. Spirituality, for all its wisdom, often lulls people into a passive existence. It's comforting to believe the universe has a plan, that signs will guide you, that patience will yield results. But is it patience or just avoidance? How many opportunities have slipped by while you waited for the right energy or perfect alignment? Life moves forward, whether you do or not. This isn't to say spirituality is worthless, far from it. But when it becomes an excuse to delay action, it chains you to inaction. Studies on decision paralysis show that too much introspection leads to overthinking, which in turn leads to hesitation. Even with uncertainty, build confidence and resilience. Imagine your spiritual insights as molten iron, raw, glowing, but shapeless. Action is the hammer striking it into a sword. If mindfulness reveals your avoidance of conflict, schedule the uncomfortable talk today. Donate what you don't need by sunset. Stoics believed virtue lies in deeds, not prayers. Your soul isn't a fragile relic to preserve. It's a force meant to forge. What can I influence today? If spirituality taught you to surrender, Stoicism demands you engage, but only where your hands can shape reality. Define your goals as battles worth fighting. Career growth as disciplined mastery. Relationships as daily acts of integrity. Health as honoring the vessel you've been given. Stoicism teaches that the world doesn't wait for you. It is indifferent to your desires, your dreams, your fears. The only thing within your control is your action. If you want to be at peace, create a life that fosters peace. If you seek success, chase it instead of contemplating its meaning. Thought without action is a well with no water. It appears deep, but gives nothing. So, what is the alternative? Plan the way quick. Act first, then reflect. If you fear making the wrong choice, remind yourself. Indecision is a decision in itself. The decision to remain where you are. Action rewires the brain, reshapes habits, and builds momentum. Each step, no matter how small, is a hammer against the wall of stagnation. Action in its purest form is not mindless hustle, it is alignment. Moving in harmony with what you control, while releasing what you cannot. Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. To be action-oriented is to focus relentlessly on your efforts, not outcomes. Psychologist Bluma Zygarnik discovered incomplete tasks linger in memory, gnawing at mental clarity. Spirituality often dismisses worldly goals as distractions, but Stoicism sees them as tests of character. A project left unfinished isn't just a missed deadline, it's a crack in your discipline. Close the loop. Act. The question is simple. Will you keep mere thinking, or will you start planning? Chapter 2. Is your spirituality keeping you poor, weak, and unfulfilled? You tell yourself money doesn't matter, that success is an illusion, that love will find you when the time is right. But is that wisdom, or just an excuse to avoid the discomfort of effort? Spirituality often preaches detachment. Don't chase wealth, don't crave status, don't force love. And yet, in the real world, these things shape your experience. Wealth gives you freedom, strength protects you, action creates opportunity. When did detachment become an excuse for passivity? Consider this. Those who act with purpose, who pursue their goals relentlessly, shape their own reality. Meanwhile, those who wait for fate to intervene are left behind, bitter and disillusioned. Psychological studies on learned helplessness show that when people believe outcomes are out of their control, they stop trying altogether. They accept mediocrity as fate, and once that belief takes hold, it is difficult to escape. Spirituality often sells the lie that positivity or detachment spares you pain. This is spiritual bypassing, using mantras to mute reality. A 2020 study in Psychology of Religion and Spirituality found that those who spiritualize suffering are less likely to take corrective action, mistaking acceptance for passivity. Stoicism rejects this. To accept fate is not to kneel to it, but to wrestle it into wisdom. Failure is not a verdict, it's fuel. Stoics saw obstacles as the universe's way of testing arete, excellence of character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." An action-oriented mindset doesn't fear failure, it consumes it. Every missed target, rejection, or stumble is raw material. Ask, what can this teach me about my discipline, my adaptability, my grit? Hiding in spirituality's light can keep you in the dark. Wealth, to a Stoic, is a tool for virtue, providing stability to serve others, learn, and grow. Now, let's talk about balance. True achievement isn't about rejecting spirituality, nor ditching ambition is spirituality. It's about acting without being ruled by the outcome. A Stoic doesn't fear failure, nor do they wait for divine timing. A Sigma always have plans. The world is built by those who act. Money flows to those who create value. Strength belongs to those who train. Love gravitates toward those who seek it, not those who simply trust the universe. The universe owes you nothing. It moves, with or without you. You don't have to abandon spirituality, but you do have to ask yourself, is it helping you, or is it giving you permission to be powerless? Are you truly at peace, or just numb? The answer lies not in your thoughts, but in your actions. Chapter 3. Is your search for meaning just an excuse to avoid effort? You want purpose. You want clarity. You tell yourself that once you find your why, everything will fall into place. But what if that's just another way to stall? What if waiting for meaning is the very thing keeping you from it? That purpose is something to be discovered. That if you meditate long enough, reflect hard enough, or wait patiently enough, the answer will come. But what if purpose isn't found? What if it's built? Studies on motivation suggest that action often precedes passion, not the other way around. Successful people don't wait for inspiration to act. They act, and inspiration follows. A writer doesn't wake up every day feeling inspired to write. A fighter doesn't feel motivated to train every morning. They do it because discipline moves where motivation fails. Yet modern spirituality sells the opposite. Sit still, wait for clarity, and once you feel ready, then you begin. But readiness is an illusion. It's a comfort you create to avoid the discomfort of action. Spirituality's shadow whispers, detach from outcomes. But Stoicism warns, detachment without action is cowardice. Want a thriving marriage? Master the mundane, weekly check-ins, shared chores, apologies voiced aloud. Crave societal change? Volunteer, vote, mentor. Even the Stoic sage Musonius Rufus taught that philosophy is useless if it doesn't translate to how you cook a meal or hold a child. If you seek purpose, don't look for it in thoughts. Look for it in who did it earlier. Practical knowledge is all you need to get going. You can acquire other necessary knowledges along the way. Many spend their entire lives searching for meaning and die empty-handed, not because meaning doesn't exist, but because they never built it. The craftsman finds purpose in his craft. The warrior finds meaning in his battle, not because it was handed to them, but because they created it through effort. So, here's the truth. You don't need to find your purpose before acting. Act first. Meaning will catch up. Chapter 4. Are you waiting for signs instead of creating them? How many times have you told yourself, "I'll know when the time is right"? But how do you expect to recognize a moment you've never experienced? How long will you sit, waiting for a sign, while others move forward and shape their own fate? The mind is a master of deception. It convinces you that hesitation is wisdom, that waiting is strategy. But what if hesitation is just fear dressed as patience? What if the sign you're waiting for will never come? Because action is what creates clarity, not contemplation. Psychologists call it the illusion of knowledge, the belief that thinking deeply about something is the same as progress. But the Stoics knew better. Seneca once said, "Life is long if you know how to use it." The ones who use it are not those staring at the stars, but those carving their path through the mud. You hesitate because you want certainty. You want to be sure this decision won't lead to failure, that this risk won't cost you. But life doesn't work that way. If you study successful people, entrepreneurs, leaders, warriors, you'll find a common thread. They move first, adjust later. They don't wait for the road to be clear. They walk forward and build it as they go. And here's the paradox. The more you wait, the harder it becomes to act. The mind becomes accustomed to hesitation. The muscle of decision-making weakens. The body adapts to stillness. And before you know it, months turn to years, and all you have are untested dreams. So, what's the alternative? Set a time limit on every decision. The next time you catch yourself waiting for a sign, give yourself 5 seconds to act. Pick up the phone, send the email, make the move. Not because you're certain, but because you refuse to let uncertainty own you. You are not a passenger in your life. You are the driver. The only question is, are you ready to start the engine? Chapter 5. Will you keep chasing perfection while life passes you by? You hesitate, you refine, you plan. You tell yourself you'll start when you're ready, when the conditions are ideal, when you have the perfect strategy. But perfection is a mirage, always visible, never reachable. How long will you keep chasing it while life moves forward without you? Spirituality often teaches patience, surrender, and trust in divine timing. But when does patience turn into avoidance? When does surrender become submission? The harsh truth is this: those who wait for perfection never build anything. Psychologists call it perfection paralysis, the fear of failure disguised as the pursuit of excellence. The belief that if you tweak, refine, and plan just a little longer, then you'll be safe from mistakes. But mistakes are how we learn. The Stoics didn't wait for the perfect conditions. They adapted to the conditions they were given. They acted, failed, learned, and acted again. The man who waits for the perfect moment will watch others take his opportunities. The man who fears imperfection will never create something worth remembering. Meanwhile, those who move forward despite uncertainty, despite flaws, despite the risk of failure, those are the ones who shape the world. Look around. The most successful people are not the smartest or the most enlightened. They are the ones who execute. They publish the book that isn't perfect. They start the business before they have all the answers. They step into the arena, knowing they might lose because they understand one truth: movement beats mastery. Will you sit in endless preparation, watching as time erodes your chances? Or will you step forward, flawed but fearless, knowing that action, not perfection, is the only path to growth? Because here's the final lesson: you will never feel ready, and that's exactly why you must begin now. Thanks for watching.